Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. How are you all today? It's a beautiful Sunday morning. We're in Warsaw, Missouri for their Heritage Days. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. What I want to talk about today is financial preparedness. That gets short shrift in the preparedness world, and I'm surprised that now a lot of people here on this channel, a lot of our members here, understand it very well. They understand the importance of being in good financial shape. But I'm always surprised at how often I run across in the preparedness world this idea that poverty is somehow good. That may be putting it a little bit simplistically. I've just noticed a couple of titles. I didn't watch the video. Well, I watched a little bit of one. And it was something about learning to live in poverty or such as that. I think I know where they were coming from, and so I'm not gonna hammer that because but I want to talk about not living in poverty, all right? I want to talk about increasing your ability to prepare, and that is about being financially prepared. But I think I'm not going to hammer that, and I don't even remember who the creator was. It's not somebody that I normally watch, because I myself have made some in the past about being able to live under oppression, and I use several groups. I use the Irish Republican movement, and I use organized crime in different areas about, being able to live under oppression. Both of those, however, understood the importance of being financially secure. And so I'm not sure, we've all met those people who kind of seem to take pride in their poverty. I don't understand that. Now, I've been poor. I know a lot of people out there say, well, you've got everything, and well, I have what I have, and I've worked my ass off for it, but I have been poor. And like those others who have been and then who have not been, poor sucks in relationship to not being poor. Okay, I just say that poor sucks. While there's nothing to be ashamed of, poverty is nothing to be ashamed of unless you're, poor because you're a drunk or lazy, in which case you ought to be ashamed. But it's nothing to be proud of either. And I think too many people kind of hang their hat on this idea. Well, I've just got what I've got, and I'm just never gonna have any more, and I'm just struggling, but I'm good at struggling, and that makes me better prepared. No, it doesn't, because there's in that attitude, there's this idea that people who are doing better financially don't possess the same skills, and many of them do. And if you have skills and you've got money, you're in better shape than if you just have money without skills or skills without money. Okay, does that make sense? So I want to talk about that. Financial preparedness is simply looking at your finances the same way you look at the rest of your preps. And I think that a lot of people, like I say, have given it short shrift. They don't realize what money can do for you. Money, and they'll fall back on money doesn't buy happiness and all. It buys freedom from worry, and worry brings unhappiness. Okay, can I say that? I'll tell you a story before I get into the meat of this. It's kind of funny. When Aiden, my oldest, was I don't know, he's probably 5 or something like that, and I was giving him a talk on what was important in life. I don't even remember what it was, but this is very important in life and all that. And he just looked up at me and says, "But it's not as important as love." And I had to laugh, and I said, "Well, that's true, but let's not let that take us off onto a side road and not understand other things that are important in life. So, I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm having money problems, but I just can't think of any way to make more money. And I've heard other people say, and right now we're in the middle of this, inflation and hard economic times. And I see comments that say, well, this is just going to kill us. This inflation is just going to kill us. And our money's not going to be worth anything, or our money's worth less and less. And then they go farther into the ridiculous statements like, your money's not going to be worth anything. You're just going to be lighting fires with it and using it for toilet paper. And that's just ridiculous. I know where that comes from. It comes from a mind who's not wanting to think about bettering themselves, and just it's a victim mentality. And they always say, well, in 19X Germany, it took a wheelbarrow full of money to buy a loaf of bread. Yeah, we understand that. We're not anywhere close to hyperinflation, and so taking your worries that far down the road is a little bit silly. Don't do it. Come back here to this point where you can actually do something and have an effect on the quality of your life. Okay. So we're here at Heritage Days. Oh, I got off track here, but I'll get right back there. We're here at Heritage Days in Warsaw, Missouri. As a matter of fact, that's Truman. That's one arm of Truman Lake behind me. It's a little bitty thing. And right in this area, those of you who have read my books, this is an area, it's Drake Harbor is right behind you. And I'll be shooting a video later on taking you through the festival and see all the vendors and everything. I'll probably just put that over on Patreon. And both Patreon, how to get to Patreon, and how to buy my books, I'll put the links down below when I put this up later this evening. All around here are people making money. You know how they're doing it? They're not asking their boss for a raise. They're not asking the government for money. They have gone out and they have found ways to make stuff or buy stuff to resell to people who will come down to these festivals and buy it. And they are making good money. I'll tell you more about that in just a second. So I get so many people saying, well, I just can't do it. There's no way that I can make money. Unless you're in a coma, you're making an excuse, because unless you're in a coma, there is a way that you can do it. You just haven't thought about it, or you haven't put yourself out there to do it. Okay? Well, it takes money to make money. Not much. Okay, that's another excuse. Well, the rich people only make money because they've got money to start. No, that's not true at all. You know how many businesses were started in somebody's garage? Pretty much every business I ever had was started in my garage or a spare bedroom. The business that we have now. Okay, same thing. You know what it takes? It takes desire. And it takes putting in the effort. And it takes putting yourself out there and taking a chance. That's what it takes. And so the people that say that it can't be done, that just means they can't do it. Okay, so they rather than admit that they are a failure compared to other people, they'll just say it can't be done. That paints everybody with the same brush, meaning nobody else can do it either, even though all around them in the world are thousands and millions of people doing it. But it can't be done. Yeah, it can. In a while, in this other one I'll put on Patreon, I'll show you all these people that are doing it. And if you've ever been to a fall festival, and I'm sure you have, you see a lot of people doing it. Money is important. I don't care what money might or might not be worth down the road in 5 years. I don't care the damage that Bozo is doing to our economy. I'm not going to let him affect me, and neither should you. All the time spent whining and complaining about the economy is time would be better spent trying to figure out how you can better your situation by increasing your income. Now see, now we're getting back to so much of preparedness is done in a defensive kind of negative way. I want to be able to do, without. I want to be able to survive with only the basics. Well, I understand if it really comes to that, then you do want to be able to survive. But the thing is, it hasn't come to that yet, and it probably won't come to that for a long time unless we have an EMP or a nuclear war or something like that. I think we're not going to have a nuclear war. I think the chances of that are fairly slim. EMP is another matter. We might. Who knows? Okay? But right now, we live in the world we live in. And right now, life's pretty good. I don't care what kind of bozo we have in the White House. If your life isn't any good, it's because you're not making it good. I know I don't mean to be harsh, but that's the way it is. I'm talking to people here just like I would talk to people, like I have talked to so many people face to face, sitting across the table with them. It's up to you to make your life good, not anybody else. And the interesting thing is that is this self-reliant attitude that most preppers think they have, and many do. Okay, but it's the kind that there are too many people that fall into this. I'm just preparing to cuddle up and hide and all this stuff and just barely get by. Well, there's a difference between surviving and actually living. Sure, you have to survive in order to be able to live, but living brings with it, the connotation of being able to enjoy, all the things that life offers, not just hiding somewhere and hoping that you don't die or get killed or something. That's not what we're about. I'm gonna do another one on positive prepping here pretty soon, because there's just too much negativity, really, and preparedness in the preparedness world. And I know that some people are addicted to that. It feeds into a lot of people. But that's not who I talk to on this channel. I talk to the ones who actually want to do something and make their lives better and be prepared. And money helps you. The person with money can be a lot better prepared than the person without. I had somebody ask me, actually it was one of our viewers from Australia. I got I think it was a comment. I think it was on Patreon, I'm not sure. And they said, do you mind of me asking, do you live at Stonemont? Is where you live, is that actually Stonemont? And if for those of you who haven't read my books, read my books. You'll find out what Stonemont is. For all you Stonemonters, you know what I'm talking about. And she says, I think that's, I think it was a woman. Maybe not. She says, I think that's what's going to be, and is it really possible? I think that's going to be necessary here in Australia here pretty soon. And so I answered her. I said, let me put it this way. There are some things that I don't answer, okay? I know a lot of people think that I've answered a lot about, where we live and our lives, but I haven't really. And so I don't answer that question. But let me put it this way. I know a number of people who live on a Stonemont. Now, these aren't fabulously rich people. And if you remember how Stonemont started, it was just somebody's home who had been prepared and who moved out a little outside of the city, not way out, a little bit outside, still within striking distance of the city, had prepared, got some land, became self-sufficient, and from there built Stonemont, which became a community. It's not just a house. That's the thing. Stonemont is not just a house on a hill with a big garden, a pond to fish from and all that. It's a community. And from there it grew and grew and grew and grew to where and finally was able to provide a place of safety for, and then for people who came across it, and then was able to rebuild a community, a multi-dimensional community like we live in now, without electricity. But guess what? They figured out how to redo electricity. See, that's why you should never, figure that it's all over for good. And the Stonemont series isn't just about preparing and surviving. It's about rebuilding. And you should be preparing so that you can rebuild if you have to. Okay. tell you a story about this, about making some money. And all of you should want to. Everybody should want to. Okay. And if you can make it a family business, we make all of our businesses a family business. That is the best thing. That's why Christmas light business, it just started with me out there scared to death and freezing on a ladder. Yeah. And pretty soon we've got, other people, good friends, essentially family, working with us. And now Kelly's doing it. She runs up those ladders on those tall house peaks and all that. Yeah, she does it. Aiden does it. He can do a house by himself. This year, my second son, Brody, he'll start helping with it. But the business that we're doing now, and this should give you a great example of what can be done. At the Old Settlers Days, which is the fall festival in Olathe, Kansas, Kelly had a booth next to somebody who was selling T-shirts, and Kelly's booth was mainly soap. And when some of our subscribers came by and saw us, and we met them, just talked to one the other night, and that was great. I don't know if we haven't seen anybody here. Well, I wasn't down here yesterday, so. If you won't see this until after I'm gone, but I hope if anybody's around here, come over and say hi. And that goes for everything. So Kelly had her soap booth. Next to her was a girl who had printed T-shirts. Kelly had asked me, she says, why don't you get back into screen printing? Because a lot of people want T-shirts, with Stonemont and stuff like that on it. I says, because I used to do T-shirts, and I may have told you on this. When I owned a gym, I learned how to do my own T-shirt screen print because I was spending so much money getting them printed. I wasn't making much money when I was selling the T-shirts and sweatshirts. When I learned how to do it myself, I ended up making more money on T-shirts and sweatshirts and gym bags and stuff like that than I did in gym memberships. See, that's how you have to think and expand. So anyway, so Kelly was talking to this girl in the booth next to her, and she had some great T-shirts and sweatshirts. And Kelly got to talking to her, and what she did was what's called sublimation printing. I wasn't familiar with it. Kelly looked into it, and she's a real bulldog. She studies stuff, so she's up until 3 o'clock in the morning, learning how to do things while I'm snoozing away, right? And she finally says, I want to get into sublimation printing, because this girl told her that one weekend, when most of the booths were around there were making, $1,000, $1,500, stuff like that they thought was a pretty good weekend, This girl made $7,000 selling T-shirts and sweatshirts that she had sublimated printing at her house. Not only that, but she told Kelly that at Santa Caligan, which is a huge festival in Independence, Missouri, she had made over $20,000. $20,000 in a weekend by printing at home, sublimation printing. Now I don't figure you all are going to be in competition with us. I want to give you the idea, but Steve, I can't do that because that costs money, and I got to get it doesn't cost near as much as you think it does. And I bet you if you can't get the little bit of money together that would let you get started in something like this, well, you need to figure out how, really. And then, no, you don't get big. You can't put 500 T-shirts out there maybe at first, but you find out where to get your T-shirts and your sweatshirts wholesale, and you find out where to get a good cheap sublimation. I'm not going to explain it all to you. Learn, because those of you who will do it don't need me to explain it, and those who need me to explain it won't do it. So I don't spend time on that. $20,000. So guess what Kelly does now? Sublimation printing. She did now what we don't do is we don't set up, because this girl was very nice, and people will help you. Not everybody is out to get you. That's another thing with preppers. My goodness, not everybody's out after you. There's a lot of people out there who will just help, and as a result of what now we won't set up wherever this girl is. She was a help. We're not going to go out there and try to steal people's business who have helped us. Doesn't mean that we will not go out and set up a booth, and there may be another T-shirt thing down the way. That's fine. That's competition. Okay, well, we're not going to screw the person who helped us. So now she's over in a big tent, and I'm out here enjoying this. The kids are in the tent helping her. What a beautiful morning. And she's got racks and racks of t-shirts and ornaments that she's made. I even made a couple of Stonemont Christmas ornaments. I thought that was kind of cool. And we're printing, as she is the one printing the Stonemont and the Integrative Preparedness t-shirts. And she's in there. What else does she have? T-shirts and all sorts of stuff. They use sublimation print on. And she's doing a booming business. I mean, yesterday, just whoa, wow. And so just from that little thing, she's increased her business. That's a family business, but she's the one that started it, and so that's, I kind of refer to it. And it will be the family business. We intend to build it. All the kids are going to be involved. Aiden, our oldest son, is in charge of all the computer work and a lot of the design. He's putting together the websites, just like he's putting together the Stonemont and the Integrative Preparedness websites. And then he makes money, okay? Because I make money and I pay him. And we make money. Anyway, this wasn't about me, but this was about opportunity and the drive and the will to do it. And I want to encourage people, because I know that there's just way too much negativity in preparedness. And preparedness, everybody's all, when they get a new doodad or a gewgaw, they like to show that. But what allowed them to get that? The money that they had. And then you need to be making money and you need to be stacking money. But Steve, money's, sit down, okay? You don't want to make money, be my guest. Be my guest. But for those of us who still realize that the world still runs on money, you need to be able to have a good and then an increased and an improved income stream. And I've said this time and time again, multiple income streams. The reason that Kelly and I were able to lose those jobs at the hospital is because we weren't totally dependent on that job. They thought they had us over a barrel. You got to take this poke if you want to keep your job. You know what we said? Take this job and you know what, right? We don't need you, because we had already built our own income streams outside of that. We weren't dependent on anybody but God himself and our own hard work. I'm going to leave it at that, because for those who just won't listen, nothing else I say will help. And for those who understand and want to get out there and do it, I don't need to say anymore, because your mind's already running, right? And I hope that you do. I want all of you to do better, to do as much as you can. You can have your own Stonemont. Now, you may not have it by next year, but the world may not end before next year. Why not think the long term? Sure, plan short term, but also plan long term. Okay? Plan multi-generational. Okay. It's another problem that a lot of people have. Everybody keeps starting at the bottom because they got this, my dad didn't give me anything, I ain't giving my kids anything. That's not how the rich folks think. Everybody hates the rich folks, but guess what? They built intergenerational wealth. And it's important to have, and no, it doesn't always result in soft children. It doesn't. Some of the hardest, toughest people I know came from very well-to-do families who had the hard work ethic drilled into them, okay? And just because they work in an office overseeing people who work in the factory doesn't make them less of a person, right? Okay. That's another thing I have a little problem with is people kind of looking down on people who don't make their living the same way they do. Very interesting, because they don't like it when other people do it to them, right? Okay. All right. What a beautiful day. You all have a great day. Later on, I'm going to walk through and I'm going to take a round through all these booths for the people on Patreon. If you're not on Patreon, I wish you would come over. It only costs you $1. You're missing out on a lot if you're not over there, and we do also have another level, a Stonemont level, that you can consider if you want to, that gives you direct access to me, to be able to talk to me directly and ask me questions that I get back to you. So do what you like, but you should be over there for your sake. And like I say, if you want the books, they're down there. If you want to know how to get to Patreon, they're down there. And again, have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And financial preparedness is one of the most important things. Okay? Guess what? It's every bit as important as learning how to start a fire by rubbing two sticks together. More important, right? Okay. You all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.